Hey everyone, it's Jamie from Independent Street Tarot and Seasons and Ritual, and I'm here with my good buddy in outer space, Helen.
Yes, we're both in outer space, but like maybe other different planets. I don't know.
Maybe. Um, so we are in this last week of Libra season.
Yes.
And I will tell you, uh, all this shit's hitting the fan, but I think that's what's supposed to be happening to bring us back into balance.
Yeah, I think so too. Like we were kind of talking about that a little bit beforehand, but like I think a lot of things like it's almost like the chaos has to exist kind of.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Things have to be shaken up so they can be put back into
Unless,
place.
and let me tell you, I am with you on the fact that, okay, they didn't need to go to those extremes, okay? Because
No, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of extremes that are unnecessary, definitely.
but here we are. So,
Yes.
so this is the last week of Libra season. We'll be moving into Scorpio season. We talked a little bit about the eclipse, and you said you had a great eclipse. It was we were talking about how the energy was calm for both of us.
Yes, yeah, definitely the energy was calm. Like, I mean, I think that's, big difference between solar and lunar eclipses, like they tend to have like a calming effect and like things get kind of quiet
Yeah.
versus like lunar eclipse, I feel like is very intense and, the lots of energy basically. So it was kind of nice to just see the quietness kind of.
Yeah, it felt really quiet over here too. And we both noted that the birds stopped singing for a while. Just
Yes. Yeah,
yeah.
they were going a little crazy right beforehand and then that was
Mhm.
it.
Thinking back on it, I'm like, yeah, it was great. It was nice. Okay. All right. Well, you guys, let's talk about the week coming up. It is 10/16 to 10/22.
Yes.
On Monday. Let's talk about this week. We both said not a big week.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Norms.
each week we've been like looking at things going, oh my God, this is such a big week.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say nothing's going on, but like I'm gonna quote Gregory Scott and say that it's like the eye of the storm, in between two eclipses. It definitely feels that way. It feels like we're kind of moving through something and towards something else. And I think in a way we're kind of just like in that, like, I don't want to say so much rest period, but kind of just chill period for a sec.
Yeah. Eloquently put. Eloquent. Okay, Monday. The moon will be in Scorpio, so that's a great way to start out the week.
Yeah, I know. We're like, it's no big deal, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Moon in
Um,
Scorpio. Okay.
yeah, I kind of like Moon and Scorpio during eclipse season though, because,
Why not?
it's a sign about transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And what does eclipses do to us? They definitely transform us.
Yeah.
So I feel like, whatever the intensity is with Moon and Scorpio normally, it fits an eclipse season.
Yeah, and guys, remember Scorpio's ruler is Pluto, and Pluto is now direct.
Yes.
That's why all the shit's hitting the fan as well.
Mhm.
Pluto is
Yeah.
now direct, friends.
Pluto and Capricorn is unearthing.
Mm-hmm. So Moon in Scorpio. So on Monday it will be opposite Jupiter and Taurus, and then conjunct Ceres. So when it's conjunct another planet, or is Ceres a dwarf planet or is it an
She's a
asteroid?
dwarf planet. Yeah, she's a
Okay.
dwarf.
So when they're conjunct, that means they're real close to each other. So they're gonna be talking. And Sirius is what nurtures us, correct?
Yes, yes. And I don't know if I maybe forgot to put it in the notes, but Moon is also going to be opposite Uranus as well.
Yep. Okay.
I missed that in the notes, I guess,
Yeah.
because I wrote it down like kind of below. But anyways, yeah, I think that's interesting too, because again, if we're talking about transformation, Uranus is going to bring that in fast.
Yep. And then so it's important to see though with that Cirrus there like talking how to see how this when this transformation comes in, when there's an opposition there, how do you see oppositions? Do you see them as
I
um
mean, I know a
tension?
lot of people read them obviously as like opposing forces, but I
Right.
almost kind of see it as like seen eye to eye, but seen across.
That's
Like
how
where
I
it's
see
like,
them
yes,
too.
I understand, we may come from, different thought processes, but I can now see across at you and I can kind of see where you're coming from, basically.
Yeah, and that's, I didn't want to put words in your mouth. That's how I see him too. It would be like if you were on the phone with your friend and you were on one side of the stadium and they were like on the other side of the stadium, and then you could see each other and you're like, "Hey, friend, you are opposite of each other.
Right.
You're getting the same experience but from different views." So you're like,
Yeah.
what are you seeing over there? And then you could have an opposing view because you're on the other side. Um, so that being said, Moon and Scorpio opposite Jupiter and Uranus, who are both in Taurus. So when these things come up and you're starting to get, like you said, I would say a new perspective, a different way, maybe thinking about things differently. With the conjunct Sirius, that's going to be, see it as nurturing, like if this is coming in, ripping band-aids off, like, ow, that hurt. But now, things have got to breathe.
Definitely.
Is there anything else you want to say on Monday?
No, I think it's a pretty straightforward one. I think, Jupiter's going to give us, especially if we're seeing across at Jupiter with the moon, Jupiter's going to give us this big perspective, like, kind of seeing the big picture, seeing like almost like zooming out instead of just like focusing on the little minute details that have been, we've been nitpicking. It's like almost like seeing like, okay, let's see the whole stadium basically.
Okay, good. Yeah. Which is, it's time. I really think it's time for us to start zooming out more. Um, for in a lot of things, quite honestly. Not only our own lives, but world events as well. So
Yeah.
Tuesday, the moon will still be in Scorpio. And on that day, Juno will enter Virgo.
Yes. Which I like Juno in because, like, Juno is obviously, relationships, commitment, things of that nature.
Mhm.
And with her in Virgo, I feel like she just gets extremely pragmatic and she's like, I'm going to commit to this. I'm not going to commit to that.
Yeah.
Discernment. This is what I need. This is what I don't need. Boom.
Yeah. And that's good. I was talking about discernment a lot actually in my eclipse video. So if you guys didn't watch that, little plug, if I knew how to do the stuff, I'd be like, it's right here. I'm going to point to the link right here. But
So, yeah, I don't know how you do that and what we're doing.
yeah, it's just the video before this one. So if you guys find it, that'd be okay. And then the moon in Scorpio later in the day will move into Sagittarius.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say about earlier moon in Scorpio before it moves into Sag?
I mean, I like that sextile with Pluto because again, I feel like with Scorpio energy, it's just helping us like to easily unearth the things that, we're working through, that we're transforming, see those things.
And can you see like that sextile with Pluto transforming maybe the way that we work with others?
Oh, yeah.
Or work with other people's, I always say money because Scorpio apparently rules other people's money.
Yeah, and especially because we're going to have that square with Saturn after the moon moves into Sagittarius.
Mhm.
I definitely see that as like the things that we've kind of like challenging us to utilize the things that we've learned recently.
Okay. I like that. Okay, Wednesday, moon in Sagittarius. Is this a good time, moon in Sagittarius?
Yes.
Okay.
Moon in Sagittarius, I feel like is great, because Sagittarius is Jupiter ruled. So again, big feelings, big, fun, all that kind of stuff.
It's
Um,
it's really my favorite. I always, I don't know if you've noticed this, but whenever the moon is in Sag, I always say, "Is it going to be a good time?" Because you're always
yeah,
like, "Yeah," like you always get excited.
yeah, because with Sagittarius, I mean, I feel like the energy of Sagittarius is like, I don't know, like not, there's no doom and gloom there. Let's put it
Okay,
that way.
okay, okay. Sorry, go ahead. Wednesday, moon in Sag.
Yes, and I really like that trine with Chiron that we have on that same day.
Mhm.
So yeah, the moon in Sagittarius fire sign is going to trine up another fire sign, Chiron and Aries. And I think again, like Chiron is the healer, the great, I call him the great healer. I know he gets called the wounded healer a lot. I call him the great healer because his whole life wasn't just about getting a wound, obviously.
Right.
But he was always a healer. So to me, I feel like again, like healing old wounds, Like definitely. And like doing it almost like in a fun way where like maybe we laugh about something,
That's
but
what I
like
was
hurt.
thinking. Like, or yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too. Like, I can't believe like I used to think that about myself, like in a good way, not like a, so,
Yeah,
but like, oh my God, I can't believe used to let that stop me. Like, oh my gosh, like,
I
I can't,
definitely see that. And like,
yeah.
especially with the sextile with Pallas Athena at the same time,
Mhm.
it's like, we can actually come up with a plan for leaving some of these things behind that like almost like was like kind of weighing us down before.
Yeah. And the plan can just be leaving it behind.
Yeah, for real.
Okay, Thursday, moon and Sag all day.
Yes.
No, yes.
Oh, till the very end of the day. Yeah, then moves into Capricorn. Excuse
Okay,
me.
yes. I saw sextile Saturn, and for some reason I was thinking move. But anyway, moon and Sag all day Thursday. See, you guys, this is an easy week because we're already Thursday.
Yes, exactly. And actually, the thing that I find the most interesting about that day is not so much what the moon is doing, but the fact that Saturn is opposing Juno.
Okay.
And, Saturn is our structures and, the things, he's the great teacher, the things that we've learned. And Juno, of course, we talked about earlier, is commitments, partnerships, the things that we're committed to. And to me, I mean, I just see, especially with Saturn and Pisces, us almost just finding like a different way of maybe like building structures that actually like support what we want in our life.
Yep. So you said Saturn is opposing Juno?
Yes.
Okay. Um, on Thursday. Yeah, again, if you could see Juno on one side of the stadium and Saturn on the other side of the stadium.
Right.
And they're giving each other a report on whatever's going on in their lives. And Saturn's telling us how to make it more stable, like you were saying.
Mhm.
And Juno's taking in this information and then she's figuring it out. Okay, maybe we could do it this way. Because from over here, it looks like, it looks like the traffic's flowing fine from my point of view. And he's like, no, but over here, I can see there's a, you know, hot dog stand meltdown. You're like, oh, okay, right. So it is like a bigger, it is like a, again, zooming out like 360s, it's like a bigger way of looking at things. And like you said, Juno's with like relationships, I would say like the relationship with yourself, but like relationship with your friends. And
Mhm.
um Saturn is going to just let things, if it's not stable, it's not gonna stay. So
Yeah. And I think that's, again, with the opposition, we're going to see that big picture of like the structures, and see like the foundation and see like, is it really, is it
right.
structurally bound?
Yeah. And if it's not, you guys, it will be shown.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
It's kind of like the city that, was built on rock and roll. It's not going to be structurally sound.
I thought you were going to talk about our city. I was like, yes, water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not structurally sound. We know that.
No, no. Okay, Friday, the moon is in Capricorn.
Yes. And actually, I feel like this is when we actually get into the meat of the astrology of the week because the
Okay.
weekend, I feel like, is where some things are actually going on. And Mercury, I feel like, is actually the star of the show.
Okay, moon in
Whole weekend.
Capricorn. Listen to your intuition on how you want to work with things, you guys. See what's maybe holding you back.
Yes.
It
And
could
that
go.
trine with Jupiter is going to help us keep the faith while we do it.
Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so talk about Mercury on Friday.
Yes. So Mercury is going to be in Libra still and forming a conjunction with the sun.
Okay.
So final degrees of Libra, they're both forming a conjunction. But on that same day, Mercury is going to square off with Pluto.
Ooh,
So
okay.
yeah. So like obviously Mercury's the mind, the intellect, communication. The sun is our ego, how we shine. And to me, like Mercury forming a conjunction with sun is great because again, we get kind of like a light being shined on, our minds and like clarity
Communication.
kind of, reveal ourselves or reveal themselves to us.
Right.
But with that square with Pluto, Pluto is digging deep. Pluto is going into the depths. So it's
Yeah.
like challenging us not to just look at the surface level stuff, but to dig a little deeper, dig deeper into like what's inside of us.
That's what I was about to say. Dig deep what's inside of you. Dig deep on this day, dig deep and see where maybe your ego is holding you. I want to say whether your ego is holding your ass up.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I definitely think that we're gonna see like the areas where we've kind of like almost been like running on bravado. Like I definitely think that that's gonna, be kind of the shadow part, the Pluto part of that.
and even if it's like, and I want to say like fake bravado, and this is something that I've been struggling with a lot, or working through either way. Struggle on working through either way. But really about leaving those old stories behind where I think like I really have to work this really hard about something in order for something to come from it. Does that make sense? I know it sounds kind of vague.
No, that does make sense. Like it's almost like, I don't want to say like some form of punishment, but like
Yes.
kind of, yeah, like you have to like it. It's not really yours if you didn't like earn it through all this like blood, sweat, and tears.
Right. And like the reality of it is sometimes you go to things, you show up, if you hit a fucking home run. Sometimes you show up, you fucking strike out. Like it's
Right. No matter what you do. Yeah.
right. And so that's what I've been kind of like working through and then like talking like to the ego about it, because either way well, you guys can fill it in, but like the ego is like, oh, you should have known better, or you shouldn't have done it this way, or maybe if you do it, but but sometimes it holds me in a story or a pattern. It's a holding pattern.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so with this, Mercury and Libra squaring that Pluto and Capricorn, Mercury's conjunct the sun in Libra. Like you said, that sun is our ego, right? Our sun is our self-confidence. But in those final degrees of Libra, because both Mercury and Libra are in those final degrees, I mean, Mercury and the sun are both in those final degrees. That's like mastery.
Yeah.
But like it's a good time to have a really good conversation with what's keeping me out of balance. Why do I feel like I've got to put others before me, or why do I feel like I've got to make sure everyone feels good too, before I like do my thing. And none of these stories are real, but none of these stories are fake either, right? So it's just whatever our story is. So Mercury squaring that Pluto and Capricorn will hopefully help transmute some of these stories with that square.
I think so too. And I think that's the challenge of that square is to let that happen.
Yeah.
To stop, clinging to the old stuff and just be like, all right, whatever.
Because
I'm gonna change the narrative.
Every day, it's like every day I'm creating a new story, and it's just like,
Yeah.
am I creating a new story? Because there's something about this old story that I seem to keep, what do you call it? Resonating with. So
Yeah.
what do you call it? Just being aware, that's 90% of the work. Okay.
Exactly.
Saturday, the moon will still be in Capricorn the first half of the day.
Yes.
The
And this
whole
is
day.
definitely the meatiest of the days in this week, because that's the day that we have the first quarter moon when the moon squares the sun. But then the moon is also going to be squaring Pallas Athena, Chiron, the North Node, and Eris on that day.
Oh.
And it's kind of like a T-square energy.
Yeah.
Because we're working with obviously the moon in Capricorn, but then Sun and Pallas Athena and Libra.
Right.
And then across, we've got Chiron, North Node, and Eris and Aries. So, whenever we have and we've got the moon conjunct Pluto playing that mix. So, like, we've got this really intense T square. And, like, the apex of it is the moon in Capricorn with Pluto. Mm-hmm. So we know there's going to be some unveilings. There's some revelations coming up. We know there's some things we got to dig into.
Yeah.
But, I always say with T squares, you got to look for the missing energy, like turn it into a grand cross and look for the missing energy so you can figure out how to break the tension. So, like, on the opposite of Capricorn would be Cancer. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the missing energy. And Cancer is the home. Cancer is, nurturance. Cancer is, the mother energy. Like how are we going to mother ourselves through this tension?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Because every time you always bring these up, I'm always like, well, whatever the sign, but I'm always like water, so you said Cancer, right? So yeah. And I can tell you, I talked to so many Cancers. Like 2 weekends ago, I did a wedding, and I mean, I was shocked how many Cancers were at this wedding. Um, and all of them, they all outgrew their homes. They all outgrew their shells,
Yeah.
and I'm, talking in hyperbole here. I mean, not their actual physical addresses, but like their homes, they were ready to move forward. They were ready for more. And this could be that reality check on that day. Like,
Yeah.
this is it. We've got to have this new home.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I think in a way, it's our way to come back home to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be like almost like some kind of a challenge that we're going to have to accept so that we can do that.
Yeah.
Some kind of like unearthing, of like an understanding, something like that about ourselves so that we can just go, all right, coming back home to myself.
Yeah. Even if it's coming to some sort of understanding, like I always think this first and then I do this and then it's okay. you know?
But
Um,
again, we've got a lot going on that day because the sun is going to be squaring Pluto.
right.
So given that, similar energy to when Mercury was squaring Pluto, of like kind of looking at, the ego and like, what things, that's trying to like hide from us, I guess you would say, like, kind of understand like the truth in our shadows.
Mm-hmm.
But also we've got Venus trining Jupiter, which I think is just a beautiful energy.
Yeah.
I think that's actually probably some of the most, to me, like one of the most auspicious transits we can experience is Venus trine Jupiter. So I think that, like, with Venus being our values and beauty, and Jupiter being, our luck and our sense of faith. I mean, I think that's just going to remind us to stay faithful and like recognize the beauty as we're kind of going through this like tense challenge.
Right. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking like just getting shit done and knowing it's like moving for the best, because that Sun in Libra squaring Pluto could just be the idea that this is transmuting and transforming my ego.
Yeah.
You
And I
know,
think it's almost like an ego death. Like
yeah.
it's definitely like, and you know, I think the
It's-
thing why we call it an ego death is because it does feel like something's dying in us,
Yeah.
but it's also something that like is necessary for like a rebirth process.
I didn't do it correct for all those years. And the answer is you did do it correct for all those years. It's just now that you're in this final year, you got to do something different.
Yeah. And
You
and
know?
I think that's like that ego part that we have to like kind of relinquish is like, yeah, it didn't turn out to, our expectations, but what is
Do you
supposed
know,
to.
do you know what I've been thinking about a lot lately?
Hmm.
And I know the answer is like no, because it's not, we're all over the place. But there's that one geophysicist, when he's not a geophysicist, I don't know, quantum physics guy. He's Asian. I'll see if I can find him. And
Mhm.
his theory was like the theory for years. And now not anymore.
Yeah.
And I just sit with that all the time. Like, what would it be like? Like, he's a scientist. I mean, he knows like it's just a theory, and he proved his theory, and for years it was proved, but now they have more information. And I mean, this guy has written books and chapters. And I'm not saying this to like humiliate him or anything like that. I'm using it as an example of you know what you know when you know it.
Yeah.
And then if something else comes in, what, then you've got to know something else or learn something else. And there is that ego death that comes with it. There is some humility, you know.
Yeah, that's a great example because that is something that would have been tied to his identity too. So,
Yeah.
what does that do to your identity when that becomes not true? This thing that,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a really, and I think in a way, this is going to sound dramatic, but I feel like in a way, we're all kind of going through that feeling in
I
our
don't
own
think
ways
it's
right now.
Yes, I don't think it sounds dramatic at all. I because I think about it a lot, you
Yeah,
know?
like everything, we thought maybe isn't what it really is. But that doesn't mean it was wrong before.
Right.
It's not right now.
No. And yeah, so I think about that guy a lot, not like a lot, but I do think more than other stuff, I guess I would say. And then also again, it's like when you have that wardrobe of clothes and then finally it just hits and they were like, what is this? This is not like, these clothes are outdated. They're not vintage, they're not contemporary. They're just like Forever 21 from like, I don't know.
Right.
And you're like,
Yeah.
there's no way I can make these work anymore. They got to go.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely that energy. And I think the thing I can say about it is the more that we cling to that thing that we know deep down, the harder it's going to be.
Yeah. One more thing and then I'll move on. Last night as on YouTube, I think, I don't fucking know. And they were doing this little interview, like on Reels they come up or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was Professor of Rock. He was talking about Axl Rose, or he's talking about Guns N' Roses' Welcome to the Jungle. Again, I was like, snapshot in time. These were those guys.
Yeah.
Now, right? You can't say, at the time with the hair and the makeup.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Okay. Okay, Sunday.
Yes.
And
So we
so
still got
right,
we still
because you
got
guys
Mercury.
Scorpios. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say we still got Mercury doing a whole bunch. So
And Scorpio season doesn't start till Monday on the 23rd, which again is late. It's late, which is crazy to me. But so
yeah.
Sunday is the last day of Libra season.
Yes. Sunday's the last day of Libra season. And actually, it's the day that Mercury enters Scorpio as well. So I guess you would say last day Mercury being in Libra.
Do you know when you say that in my mind, I hear the Death March, like what they were playing when they pulled the Queen into her final
Oh, the Dirge?
sort of. But like
Okay.
more of like the one that they were playing when the Queen finally made it into Westminster Abbey.
Oh,
When you said
yeah.
Mercury enter Scorpio. And listen, you guys, I'm weird. Like when I was listening to all that music while she was proceeding down, I was like, this is fucking awesome. And I Shazammed it and Googled it. So I mean, there's that. I know. What are you gonna do? So but that's what I hear when you say Mercury enter Scorpio. It's
Interesting.
yeah, it's not bad, but it's like
Yeah.
dramatic.
Mhm.
Okay, it's dramatic. And we
Yes.
must remember the Queen, these were her final wishes. This is how she wanted to go out.
Right.
It was great. The crescendo, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well,
So, but
that's interesting because I feel like any planet in Scorpio is kind of like that. Like just that, like
yeah,
that intensity of
here it
here
comes.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, like almost like going off into battle, kind of because Scorpio is Mars ruled, you know.
It's ancient ruler.
So,
Yeah.
yep, exactly.
hmm Okay. So the moon is gonna be in Capricorn all on Sunday.
Basically just for like a little bit, and then we'll move into Aquarius.
Okay, so the moon will move into Aquarius and then Mercury will enter Scorpio.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, we've got some more, intense squares there going on because the moon, once the moon moves into Aquarius, is going to square with Mercury in Scorpio
hmm
and Mars in Scorpio, and then also Jupiter in Taurus. So another little T square action. This time, the apex is going to be the moon in Aquarius. So if we're talking about the missing energy turning into a grand cross, that's going to be Leo energy.
Yeah, fire.
And I love that because Leo is the heart. So,
hmm
like, again, whatever challenges we come up with that day, just go to our heart.
Yeah, and I was going to say, actually, the moon moving into Aquarius to me seems like it's going to help ease that tension, even though it's involved in a couple squares.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because I always think Aquarius is, I know it's not, Aquarius is the mind, right, in the future, but also I do think it is heart based as well.
Yeah. I mean,
Because
it's the polarity of Leo. So of course it has to be. It has to be like just the other side of the heart almost.
Yeah. And so it's really important that we start getting back into the heart. And then when Mercury enters Scorpio, again, I can hear it. Da, 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 da. You know, Mercury is air. Mercury wants to communicate. And so he does want to communicate with, you know, Mars. If it's an ancient ruler, he does want to communicate with Pluto.
Yeah.
In Mercury, you know, to me is one of the bravest signs because he has to talk with everybody,
Yeah.
you know, so find strength in that. You know,
Hmm.
when it goes into Scorpio and you're like, I don't know if I could talk about this stuff. And he's going to be in there, what? How long? A month?
Only like 2.5 weeks, I
2.5
think.
weeks. Okay.
Yeah, because he goes into Sagittarius on November 10th.
Okay.
So
So
not.
he's hauling ass through there.
Yeah, he tends to do that whenever he's not retrograde. Like
Mhm.
then it's like 2.5 to 3 weeks in each sign.
Yeah.
Get it done.
That's our little winged footed friend.
Yes.
So
Well,
we're,
and same day, again, Mercury, very, very busy, is forming a trine with Saturn after moving into Scorpio,
yeah.
which I like that because to me, I feel like that's like taking what we've learned and like actually putting it to use in our minds, like really thinking out, like, okay, I've learned this. Now, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to make that into, my daily routine or whatever you want to say?
Yeah. I like that because again, with that Scorpio, like going deep, trining with that, it's like, okay, I'm okay with that. Because
Mm-hmm.
Juno's conjunct Lilith in Virgo.
Oh, yes, which I
So
love that.
right. So
Like,
that's just like, yeah, that's right. Let's take accountability. Let's move on.
right. And like to me, I think of Lilith as our most authentic self, that,
Hmm.
who we truly are, who we will fight to be no matter what. Like, this is who I am. And conjunct with Juno, it's almost like truly committing to who we really are.
Hmm.
Like, and going with that and being like, well, this is who I am for better or worse. And Virgo is discernment, like going like, hey, this is who I am. Gonna
Let's,
have to move like that and not keep trying to be something else.
and again, you bring up that word discernment, and I cannot stress that word enough. With that moon in Aquarius, right? The future, it's here, right? You're moving towards, even though you can't see it right in front of you, it's what you feel. It's what you feel. You know, the moon is our intuition. So keep working with that on that day for sure before we move into Scorpio season.
Yes.
The sun is in those final degrees of Libra, you guys, and that is mastery.
Yeah.
So go over how Libra season was for you. What are you learning? What are you leaving behind? Because that South Node is there.
Yeah.
All right. How do you feel about that? Did I make it confusing by that?
No, I think that that's a good way of like closing it out. And like again, I feel like it's a week for us to like almost like kind of get our ducks in a row and like just kind of like feel this eclipse energy. And I think it's important to mention again, we are between two eclipses. Nothing's gonna necessarily make sense right away. So, and it doesn't need to. I think maybe that's the best advice during eclipse season is you don't have to make sense out of it.
No. Just see
Just
again, see where the chips may fall. You just keep
yeah,
going with it. And I do feel grateful where we are that things are calm on our end. And,
yeah,
you know, and that's good. If you guys are in that calm energy, that's when I mean, and you can work with discernment. I feel like that's so important because in going back to obviously, and I am going to be talking about, I mean, like the war in the Middle East, like if you can discern, like you can see peace, you can feel peace, sit with that because that's important. Even though other people, that's important. That's how energy changes on the planet. You know, again,
mhm,
seeing the big picture of like actually we could be a world at peace, that
yeah.
changes the energy. And so if you guys can do that,
That,
do that. Okay. Thank you, friend.
yes, thank you.
If you guys have any questions, always reach out below. If you'd like Helen to give you an astrology reading or a tarot reading or myself, you can always get in touch with us. Until next time, happy last week of Libra.
Yes, happy eclipse season.
In the middle.
Yes, in the middle.
Okay, friends, till next time.
Bye-bye.